move towards actionable solutions.
Yes.
Now, Andrew, you are an accomplished naturalist, environmentalist, established certified nature and bird guide. So you've been working in this arena, grassroots.
For 25 years.
Yes. So what do you see are the opportunities that Malaysia needs to get on board over other commercialized interests, such as maybe establishing a third car brand, moving forward in economics and technology? What about nature?
So we're going to go there, right? Okay. First and foremost, it is not just a critique, that Malaysia, we have a good brand, we have a good name. We are ranked 12 in the world as a mega diverse country. So which means between the 12 countries, we hold 75% of all known biological wildlife and plants on planet Earth. 75%. We hold a monopoly, basically. Yeah, and almost all the countries in the 12 are taking advantage of ecotourism. That is sustainable economics for the local man in the street, as well as the hotels and the airlines. It goes. Everybody makes money from that.
Across the board.
Across the board, it's sustainable. Yeah, ecotourism. If you follow if you adhere to the principles, you do not harm the very golden goose that lays these beautiful eggs for us every day, we can laugh to the bank years and years to come. People in Africa, Ecuador, I'm not talking about people with giant mega twin towers in their backyard, They have nothing like that.
Yeah.
But yet, our Bushman friend in the Kalahari enjoy the fruits of ecotourism every day. Truckloads of people go to his little village.
Story today is, according to Dr. M. Cameron's defeat, shows we must address cost of living issues, bread and butter. Now, we did, of course, discuss this during the show even yesterday with Dr. Abdullah. And coming out of Putrajaya,
but is this happening on at least a smaller scale in Malaysia? You also initiated the Royal Elm State Park Conservation back in 2006.
We are trying to get us there.
So what he says now is that we have to know more about what they reference to these rural folk, what they're not happy about, what are the issues really biting them, and what he says that we know one of the things that affect them is, of course, the high cost of living. One would argue that, hey, this is something that this is nothing new. It's not
should be a no-brainer, right?
That's right. Seem to want to gel with each other.
Okay, but that's a big price to pay because we are sacrificing what's our national treasure.
Does not really affect
now,
them.
when you think about national heritage, we must find ways to reduce cost of living as well as comes as the middle ground. Now, economically speaking, though, Malaysia is a powerhouse when it comes to natural resources. We're one of the second largest palm oil exporter in the world. It's definitely a very large industry.
That's right. Of course, that shows that representation does indeed matter, with perhaps the Orang Asli having chosen the Barisan Nasional candidate because it does bring their representation into Parliament for the first time ever, with Ramli Mohamad Noor being our first ever Orang Asli MP. And moving on from there, straight into a viral
by 2020, the votes already won.
who was caught breaching the smoking ban himself, and he will be facing appropriate action.
Well, not a good day for him then. Policemen caught in video breaching the smoking ban will face action, and they, of course, have not named him yet. He is in he's a uniformed personnel, they say, and he should know that the government has put up a ban into force, which should be adhered by all quarters, whether you're an officer or you're just a regular member of the public, or even part of any kind of organization. I think these days,
so we're going to the threats of monoculture in just a little bit. But first and foremost, the palm oil industry, the government does also need to take a stand, since it contributes to directly, indirectly, livelihood of up to 750,000 Malaysians. So that's like wildfire, and showed him having a cigarette in his hand in a restaurant, which is one of the new non-smoking areas. So, hey, you know what? People are out there
it is commercially very viable. It's fantastic.
Multi-purpose as well.
It gives humanity a lot of good things
away from food outlets. It's not that you cannot smoke completely at all.
What do you say about old habits die hard?
What happens? We see
it must be whether that's a grace period or some adjusting period. Nonetheless, as an officer, solutions now. If you propose a couple of good solutions,
now moving along from there into some news coming out of Georgetown, Penang, where a 15-year-old has been arrested for attempted attacking a schoolmate with steel tables
but done
and
right,
chairs.
Done right.
Wow.
And
what Georgetown
villages
OCPD Assistant Commissioner Chahal said the victim alerted the teacher after the daily assembly at the school on Jalan Masjid Negeri, adding that he had sustained injuries on his back. They now say that they're tracking down 3 more students as witnesses to assist in these investigations, and they will also get reports out and also look at the victim's medical report. All this came out just yesterday.
That's right. Now, on that note,
they need transportation, they need a fight to get in,
right after with more news on the go.
They pay their tourism tax. So much of products can be highlighted, from our forests to our waterfalls.
And all the way to actually contributing to Orang Asli and Orang Asal development, right?
So let them actually take charge of some of that as well, because it is their environment, it is their space. What else do you have to add on? I'm sure you have a lot to say. I know you do.
I know. Because I grew up in Forest Research Institute 20 years ago. Never had neighbors. Forests, you know. Wow. And next to Frame was Singapore and the whole Rubber Research Institute. And I heard this researcher once tell us when I was very young, with modernization and with good know-how, we don't have to use so much of acreage to produce X number of rubber. I would think the same would go for oil palm. I'm not an anti-oil palm lobbyist, but I've been watching oil palm and rubber take over our natural landscape so far too long.
That's right.
And they've gone, and the calls for us to actually rationalize, stay away from river reserves, stay away from.
Wouldn't it be nice if we can get them to explain how they intend to
don't
build
contribute to
100,000 affordable
deforestation, but that's
homes
mostly
in a
just
year?
stayed as an ideation. In practical reality, though, you've got corporations still going in. The Malaysian Palm Oil Council has also been doing some good work in
Wouldn't it
ensuring
be nice
that
if we can get Bank Negara to
palm
explain how
oil
they intend to help with home
plantations are
ownership?
actually sustainable? Do you think we will actually eventually move on from monocropping into perhaps
Wouldn't it be nice if
also
we can ask all these burning
including coconut
questions
oil?
on behalf of property developers and investors?
But we don't see a lot of integration to
you can
natural
drill them
resources.
to the brink
We don't
to get
see
more
the
than their
convergence.
usual
We
motherhood
see a
state.
big giant industry
I think
jumping in to say,
we should put
that's
that on
just
our
a
property hot
that's
seat.
just a forest.
What do you think?
Of course, Vincent.
But
if
at the
there's
same
an-
time, I
And
will
if
be
you dare,
ethical about it. But
send us an
there's
email with all
no
your burning
marriage
questions.
into
Yeah, there's a disconnect.
together,
Yeah.
So the bridge is not happening now. In the arena of wildlife conservation, for example, okay, we've got Harimau Malaya as a national brand, national echo.
I always say this, why do we not then go the extra mile to ensure that, we're walking the walk and actually really preaching what we
The question
say?
is right. So when Europe tells us, hey, you've been bad, you're going to ban your product, you've been bad, you take step on and say, hey, we have to do that. We could do that.
And what's happening on the ground though? For example, WWF's conservation programs for tiger conservation have been working fantastically in areas like Nepal, but it also has full buy-in from the local population. What's missing in Malaysia?
Enforcement?
Enforcement-wise, and even local community-wise, that is meaning the program still doesn't reap the results.
Political will. So
Okay.
a lot of NGOs have done good work. They try every day. Right now, there are people in the forest trying to help take down snares and so on. But the fact is, our tiger population is dwindling. It's coming now very dangerously low, where it won't be a viable population anymore in 5 years to come, 10 years to come.
Okay, so Andrew, to wrap it up, because we're running short of time, tell us in a nutshell, what would you like to see for the next 5 years happen strategically?
And also what we can look forward to in your new role here at NNN.
Well, the upcoming piece will be on ecotourism, basically. I'm offering people or the government a chance to talk about, hey, let's try to invest some time into talking about an alternative. We can produce everything.
Anda boleh hubungi talian kasih di 15999
whatever it is.
untuk bantuan.
Let's marry
Kementerian
that.
Pembangunan
Let's
Wanita,
balance that.
Keluarga dan Masyarakat sedia membantu anda. To the
in the
youth
next 5
of
years, we see a
Malaysia,
balance. People are saying
better to be
our
safe
quality of life is actually linked
to be
to us
sorry.
protecting our natural resources.
Brilliantly.
That's right. You know what? This reminds me of a quote, ask not what can be done, but what you can do. And I think you are definitely an example of
Hi
that.
there. Welcome back to Bernama.
Being with us right here, Kaoosji and Jessy Chahal taking you through in this very interesting and special segment. We had a fellow colleague on board in the organisation.
Yes, that's right. That was Andrew Sebastian joining us here on joined today by Andrew Sebastian.
We will be right back after the commercial break. Yes, so basically Andrew Sebastian is going to be joining us. He's in the hospital right next to us, and we're going to be talking all things conservation. Now, Andrew is also himself the co-founder and CEO and a nature guide from Ecotourism. So he marries those two passions together with journalism to bring us a broader picture of what's going on environmentally in Malaysia and also the path ahead for conservation of nature.
Welcome on board and thanks for being with us.
But do you feel that properly represents what it is you do and what you're here to do?
Yes, and when I was offered, and I grabbed it because I think there needs to be a voice for the environment right now.
That's right.
And this
a loud voice. We have many people sort of whispering, but really nothing's being done. What is it from your perspective? Where do we lack?
Well, I think it also is an institutionalized thing. From days ago, very difficult to talk about environmentalism because it is basically third or fourth or fifth down the list of priorities. Now with the new political scenario, everybody can have a say. I can come on Bernama and I can say stuff.
Okay, but having to say is also quite different from being able to move towards actionable solutions.
Yes.
Now, Andrew, you are an accomplished naturalist, environmentalist, established certified nature and bird guide. So you've been working in this arena, grassroots.
For 25 years.
Yes. So what do you see are the opportunities that Malaysia needs to get on board over other commercialized interests such as maybe establishing a third car brand, moving forward in economics and technology? What about nature?
So we're going to go there, right? Okay. First and foremost, it is not just a critique that Malaysia, we have a good brand, we have a good name. We are ranked 12 in the world as a mega diverse country. So which means between the 12 countries, we hold 75% of all known biological wildlife and plants on planet Earth. 75%. We hold a monopoly basically, yeah? And almost all the countries in the 12 are taking advantage of ecotourism. That is sustainable economics for the local man in the street as well as the hotels and the airlines. You know, it goes, everybody makes money from that.
Across the board.
Across the board, it's sustainable. Yeah, ecotourism, if you follow, if you adhere to the principles, you do not harm the very golden goose that lays these beautiful eggs for us every day, we can laugh to the bank years and years to come. People in Africa, Ecuador, you know, I'm not talking about people with giant mega twin towers in their backyard, you know. They have nothing like that. But yet, our Bushman friend in the Kalahari enjoy the fruits of ecotourism every day. Truckloads of people go to his little village, yeah, and they pay him money to watch his culture, to simulate themselves for at least a few hours to see how they dance, how they prepare the food and so on. And every day he does it, he laughs to the bank.
But is this happening on at least a smaller scale in Malaysia? You also initiated the Royal Belem State Park Conservation back in 2006.
Yeah, we are trying to get us there, you know, because there's a group of us, a lot of good people around our country who's trying to get us there.
But what seems to be the stumbling blocks, or rather from the authority point of view, what is it that is not being properly done?
Well, you have natural resources, you have politics. Yes? You know, it doesn't seem to want to gel with each other.
Okay, but that's a big price to pay because we are sacrificing what's our national treasures.
Right.
Now, when you speak about national heritage, we speak about politics, I think economy always comes as the middle ground. Now, economically speaking, though, Malaysia is a powerhouse when it comes to natural resources. We're one of we're the second largest palm oil exporter in the world. It's definitely a very large industry.
But you have a take on that, yes.
We came up with a statement very recently. This is with regards to the call, the EU, I won't name the countries, but some countries are threatening to take oil palm out of the equation in terms of a biofuel.
Yes, by 2020. The vote's already won through.
Yes. So a lot of people are getting upset. The Prime Minister himself has said some stuff like that. You know, I think we are looking at it from a negative point of view. To be said, the oil palm industry has not been a good boy. They've been devastating to the environment. They've taken down so much of natural forests.
That's right.
You know, they've turned our beautiful green landscape, a source of ecotourism. Our system they talked about. Yeah, they taken this and they turned it into a monoculture, standalone ecology.
So we'll go into the threats of monoculture in just a little bit. But first and foremost, though, the palm oil industry, the government does also need to take a stance since it contributes to directly, indirectly, livelihood of up to 750,000 Malaysians.
Yes.
So that's
the oil palm,
an incredible chunk of people.
Let me just say it. I said it in our website. The oil palm itself is a beautiful plant. It is a beautiful plant. It is commercially very viable. It's fantastic.
Multi-purpose as well.
It gives humanity a lot of good things. You know?
Yeah.
But put it in the hands of greed, put it in the hands of
corporatization.
What happens? We see a lot more. We are killing the golden goose.
Okay, so we've highlighted the problems.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the solutions now. Okay. If you could propose a couple of good solutions, and I'm sure you have many in your pocket, what may some of them be?
Well, ecotourism. That's number one.
But done right, though.
Done right, though.
And what would that entail?
The hundreds of villages that bordering all the forest reserves, inside national parks, the communities that live there, they live a unique lifestyle. People want to pay money to go in adventure.
That's right.
To go and watch, to go and observe. Not to simulate so much, yeah? To go and observe, yeah?
To go and observe,
and when people go and to places like this, they want a comfortable place to stay. So they need the big hotels. They need transportation, they need a flight to get in, you know, and they pay the income tax, they pay their tourism tax and so on. So much of products can be highlighted, from our forests to our waterfalls.
And all the way to actually contributing to Orang Asli and Orang Asal development, right?
Yes.
So
to
that
let them actually take charge of some of that as well, because it is their environment, it is their space. What else would you like to add on? I think I'm sure you have a lot to say. I know you do.
I know, because I grew up in FRIM, Forest Research Institute, 20 years. Never had neighbors. Forests, you know.
Wow.
And next to FRIM was Sungai Buloh and the old RRI, Rubber Research Institute, you know. And I heard this researcher once tell us, when I was very young, with modernization and with good know-how, we don't have to use so much of acreage to produce X number of rubber.
Right.
I would think the same would go for oil palm. I'm not an anti-oil palm lobbyist, you know, but I've been watching oil palm and rubber take over our natural landscape so far too long.
That's right.
And they've gone, and the calls for us to actually rationalize, stay away from river reserves, stay away from unique ecosystems have gone unheeded.
Don't contribute to deforestation, but that's mostly just stayed as an ideation. In practical reality, though, you've got corporations still going in. The Malaysian Palm Oil Council has also been doing some good work in ensuring that the palm oil plantations are actually sustainable. Do you think we will actually eventually move on from monocropping into perhaps also including coconut oil?
Well, the idea is good. The idea is good. But we don't see a lot of integration to natural resources. We don't see the convergence. We see a big giant industry jumping in to say, that's just a forest.
But at the same time, wasted, I will be ethical about it. But there's no marriage into.
Yeah, there's a disconnect. You know?
So the bridge is not happening now. In the arena of wildlife conservation, for example, okay, we've got Harimau Malaya as a national brand, a national ethos.
I always say this: why do we not then go the extra mile to ensure that we're walking the walk and actually really preaching what we what we say?
The question is why. So when Europe tells us, "Hey, you've been bad. We're going to ban your products. You've been bad." Do you take step on and says, hey, we have been bad. We could do better.
And what's happening on the ground, though? For example, WWF's conservation programs for tiger conservation have been working fantastically in areas like Nepal, but it also has full buy-in from the local population. What's missing in Malaysia?
Enforcement?
Enforcement-wise, and even local community-wise, that is meaning the program still doesn't reap the results.
Political will. So a lot of NGOs have done good work. They try every day. Right now, there are people in the forest trying to help take down snares and so on. But the fact is, our tiger population is dwindling. It's coming now very dangerously low, where it won't be a viable population anymore in 5 years to come, 10 years to come.
Okay, so Andrew, to wrap it up, because we're running short of time, tell us in a nutshell, what would you like to see for the next 5 years happen strategically for
and
Malaysian
also what we can look forward to in your new role here at NNN?
Well, the upcoming piece would be on ecotourism, basically.
Okay.
I'm offering people or the government of the day a chance to talk about, hey, let's try to invest some time into talking about an alternative. We can produce everything, from second national cars to oil palm or rubber or whatever it is. But let's marry that. Let's balance that.
Let's integrate it.
There's no balance, So I hope in the next 5 years, we see a balance.
Right.
People are saying our quality of life is actually linked to us protecting our natural resources.
Brilliantly
That's right. You know what? This reminds me of a quote: "Ask not what can be done, but what you can do." And I think you are definitely an example of that. Doing, I wouldn't say little, but doing a lot of what you can, and really starting that dialogue and knocking on the right doors. Thank you, Andrew. It's a pleasure to have you in the studios. Take a quick break.
Yes, we do. So that was Andrew Sebastian joining us here on at Bernama News Channel. We will be right back after the commercial break with more on the show. Stay tuned.
Waspada dalam talian. Sedang akan status sosial dan tingkatkan tahap keselamatan peranti anda. Aktifkan kata kunci bagi menjawab dan melindungi nombor PIN anda. Jangan buka mesej daripada orang yang tidak dikenali. Amalkan sikap berhati-hati. Lindungi diri anda, keluarga dan mereka yang anda sayangi. Keselamatan anda, tanggungjawab bersama.
Kembali lagi pastinya bersama-sama dengan saya Raifah Zulkifli dan akan menampilkan pelbagai tetamu. Kita ada artis. Kita ada atlet. Kita ada YB.
Tapi sebelum tu kita minum dulu.
Jadi kalau anda nak tahu siapa mereka boleh masak di dapur ataupun tidak, dan ada rahsia-rahsia mereka yang akan kita korek. Anda kena terus bersama-sama dengan Bernama News Channel.
Hello and welcome back to Bernama Today. Thanks for still keeping it logged on to us, and welcome to the show, especially if you're watching us on Facebook Live. We would appreciate any comments that you have for us.
That's right. We're always very excited to hear from you, and of course keep it locked on to Bernama News Channel, and especially here on Bernama Today. It's an open platform. We want to hear what you have to say as we highlight some national issues, important issues, an open platform to discuss as well. We can agree to disagree. I think we've come to that point of time in our country.
Yes,
and
we have.
We're definitely looking forward to more dialogue with all different kinds of parties. If you're just joining us, we just got back from a commercial break. Before that, we were speaking to our guest in the studio, Andrew Sebastian, on the environment, on ecotourism, and of course his upcoming new role right here within Bernama on Triple N, which stands for the NAM News Network.
That's right. Now, speaking of equity, now we shift the conversation to something equally important happening in the education sector of things. We're speaking now of about more than half of tahfiz and government schools having poor safety standards. Now, this is according to NEOSH chief, and of course this is the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, and their chairman Tan Sri Leelam Thai said the agency was constantly conducting checks, and compiling reports for the government's action.
That's right. So, of course, he's definitely very vocal about these issues. He's come to the studios many times as well to highlight the need and importance of having these stipulated standards, especially in environment where it, of course, becomes quite dangerous. And this basically issue isn't new as well. We've seen the tragedy that took place and happened. I think it was early last year,
the massive fire that actually occurred, and the deaths resulting from it.
So many deaths from that. So, of course, NIOSH is doing what it can in terms of CSR as well by visiting schools, providing service and creating educational awareness on the importance of occupational safety and health management, perhaps issues that are there in the background, but then they're never really given much priority or given much light.
Exactly.
And so there's a lot of non-compliance that goes on as well that really needs to be adhered to, or rather to be looked at.
Now, it's great that the conversation has not only been broached, but also this leads towards some actionable solutions happening, perhaps guidelines for not just the tahfiz, but also the government schools, particularly the ones which are in the interior regions of Sabah and Sarawak. So if you're a parent or somebody who works within the education system who also sees this lack of stipulations and compliance, please do reach out to the relevant authorities so that action can be taken. Now, from school safety, moving into road safety, also very strategic. You know, festive season is just around the corner with the Chinese New Year, balik kampung, or going back to the hometown rush.
That's right. Let's keep it safe this Chinese New Year. But from school safety, like you said, on to road safety, which is another big issue here in the country. The Lion Club now ropes in the police to promote safety for all motorists.
So this is including 13 Lions Club chapters throughout Selangor coming together to promote greater awareness in view of the Chinese New Year break. And among the interesting tips is to alert neighbours if one intends to go for long holidays, and to be patient when navigating highly congested roads. So stay cool on the roads out there, people.
Absolutely, and remember, stay on your lane. There's no speeding necessary. You will get there eventually. Have you forgotten?
Air adalah penting untuk nadi bagi kita hidup. Maka kalau air sudah teruk, kita tak jaga, sudah apa toksin, maka semua benda-benda hidup dalam air itu akan meninggal.
We cannot litter near our river, or even we cannot litter at the drain, because then it will go to the sea or the river.
Isu semasa, merangkumi politik, ekonomi, sukan serta hiburan. Membawakan anda agenda pentas dunia. Saksikan Ruang Bicara setiap Isnin hingga Jumaat di BNC.
Hello and welcome back to Bernama today. So from a nature and environmentalist focused interview in the first block, now we move into the arts, culture, theatre, and a Malaysian who's been making us very proud.
Absolutely.
Yes,
we have with us Aaron Teo in the studio. Of course, he's an actor, and he and another bunch of Malaysians have shined at the West End. Welcome to the studio, Aaron. How are you today?
Good, good. Thank you so much for having me here today.
It's great to have you here and to know that you and your mates are flying the Malaysian flag high and mighty in the US. Do tell us a little bit more about this play that was featured.
Yeah. So The King and I opened on Broadway, I think a couple of years ago, won a couple of Tony Awards, and they moved it over to the West End. So a good friend of mine, John Chu, also another Malaysian, performed as Prince Chulalongkorn on the West End. He performed alongside Ken Watanabe, Kelly O'Hara, which she was amazing.
All really illustrious names,
right?
Oh
yeah, great names. Tickets were very expensive. I sat at the very, literally the last row. I was closer to the ceiling than I was to the stage.
But you had to be there nonetheless.
Oh yeah, of course, to support a Malaysian talent and everything. It was the first time that I had seen someone I know on the West End, which was really exciting. And he's such a lovely guy.
So to see yourself represented on stage and moving in from there to being the representative of not just your community, but representing Malaysians as well as actors.
Yeah.
Now you play Prince Chulalongkorn in the latest revival of The King and I on West End.
Yeah, not the West End. Right now they're going to go on the UK tour. So
the UK tour.
Yeah, so I think the first show will be in Manchester in April, and I go on tour for about a year. And I won't be back in Malaysia until 2020.
Oh my! So we are very lucky indeed to catch you just before you speed off. Then.
Yeah. I've got 2 months back here. It's really good to be back home.
But in your heart and mind, what does it feel like for Malaysian, not because we're any less, but because sometimes the opportunities are sort of limited. What does it mean to you when you're up there on stage, and do you see a sort of a difference between having plays done here and then of course the West End?
Yeah, well, I think definitely on the West End things are just so much bigger. It's very professional. There's a lot of sponsorship from the government, from private companies, and of course the ticket sales, about 5,000 seats, and they're usually sold out. So they have a lot more funding to get these big shows done. Being Malaysian abroad, you feel sort of like a ambassador, right? So you feel like you're representing your country and things like that, and you never realize how difficult it is until you get there. Because while we are taking tuition, to improve maths and science, these people are going for dance classes, going for singing classes, music classes,
or masters in theatre arts.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just so much more feasible as a full working profession over there. You can actually feed your family doing the performing arts over in the West, and I guess it's a bit more of a challenge here in Malaysia.
Structurally speaking, though, what about the way performance is set up in the West actually contributes to making it a working, livable profession? Is it the guilds that they have over there? Is it the mechanism? Is it the base pay rate? Because even for seasoned industry performers over here, it is such a challenge to actually charge your minimum rates.
Yeah, well, it's the sheer size of everything. I think everything is just so much larger in the UK. There's a huge pool of talent.
Right, and also, just a minute, what are we watching here?
Oh, right.
This is you yourself performing?
This is me performing with the WDC Jazz Ensemble. This was back in 2016, I believe.
You sing wonderfully.
Thank you very much.
Really well. So, okay, let's go back to a bit on the show itself, The King and I. Do tell us the mechanics of it, and you, of course, play a wonderful role as well. Let's talk a little bit about that.
Right, so The King and I is a musical by Rodgers and Hammerstein. It tells the story of Anna, who comes to Siam, or Siam at that time, to teach the children of the king. And he has many children because he has many wives. And I play the oldest son that then takes over as king when he passes away. I haven't started anything yet, but it's very exciting. I think when I got the news, I sort of curled up onto the floor and I was just like, I was silent for a while. I was silent for a while. Like, hi, are you there? But yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Silence. Aaron, speak up. Okay. So what will you be doing in preparation to play the best way that you can for Prince Chulalongkorn?
Because this story, of course, is close to Malaysians' heart as well. Having it was shot here as well.
Yes, the film version with Jodie Foster, Anna the King.
Yeah, well, funny story. Prince Chulalongkorn at the time was played by another friend of mine, Keith Chin, a Malaysian who is now abroad in Germany as a ballet dancer. I think he's in Germany. He's somewhere in Europe. I really apologize if I got that wrong. But he's making Malaysia proud again. It's a good story. I think it's one of the few musicals right now that specifically cast Asians, and it's one of those things where if the producers...
Well, I would also think that is a great step towards the future, seeing in that the roles ought to be played by Asians.
Yeah, exactly.
So I want to bring up the big conversation, which is also going on in Hollywood right now, whereby we've seen large productions, Ghost in the Shell and etc., titular character roles played by not just non-Asians, but specifically by Caucasian actors. What do you think about that?
And do you think there has been a sort of a mind shift or paradigm shift on how that's being viewed?
Well, a little bit now, I think, because we're calling it out more often. Unfortunately, Scarlett Johansson becomes the sort of scapegoat right now. Like I think when the
alternative journey, as we would call it here in Malaysia.
I think the best thing to say is we are good enough.
Yeah.
That's no. I think that was my main contention, that I didn't feel that I was good enough when you walk into the room. And I think every performer that walks into the room walks in like they own it. They walk in like, I'm doing you a favor by being here, and that it's really empowering.
But that might be viewed here differently.
Yeah,
though,
but
right?
do you also feel that we as Malaysians perhaps have a problem with esteem because that fundamentally draws back to identity questions?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a very Asian thing, isn't it? Like to not blow one's own horn, right?
That's
like
right.
To say like, oh my God, I did this, and people go, no, check yourself, you know. And I think that's a very Asian thing.
Yeah.
And I think there is a line, isn't there, like between boasting and just celebrating your achievements, which I think it's a very healthy thing to do.
Owning your space, as you said.
Yes, exactly. And I think that's something that Asians, Malaysians, that need to go out there and do more. There's so many Malaysians abroad that are making Malaysia proud right now. There's a friend of mine, Jessy, who's on the Miss Saigon tour that ends in March this year.
Wow, that is huge.
There's Sean Ghazi, who's back from the UK, who is, again, performing all over the world. There's Stephanie Van Driesen, who's at East 15 right now.
Oh,
she's
yes, doing wonderful things for Shakespeare.
Exactly, and she's auditioning for Hamilton on the 4th of February. How amazing is that? It's so good.
Exactly. Shout out to Stephanie from here, you know.
Yeah.
But, all of these things happening, you've also got representation in Hollywood. Henry Golding, of course, is doing the rounds, and is really out there. But what was that pivotal, that light moment, right bulb moment for you, which changed the way you started projecting yourself when you attended auditions or castings or just putting your resume out there?
When I saw a fellow Malaysian on stage, that blew my mind.
Yeah.
Like I can't express how much seeing John on stage.
John, I hope you're watching this interview.
He's in Tasmania. He was supposed to come with me right now, but he's busy. But just watching him on stage, seeing a fellow friend, fellow performer, and just a great guy, get his shot. That it blew my mind. It changed my entire outlook on how I should be approaching auditions. It changed. I guess you carry a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, don't you? Like like thinking like,